You are listening to Bedtime Dreamy Tales. Subscribe to our channel for new story. Story title: The Emperor and the Nightingale. Long ago, in ancient China, there lived a wise and noble emperor. His palace was the most magnificent in all the world, constructed entirely of delicate, shimmering porcelain. The walls, floors, and ceilings glittered with an ethereal light, and the palace was adorned with priceless treasures from every corner of the empire. However, it was so fragile that anyone who touched it had to do so with utmost care. Surrounding the palace was an enchanting garden, filled with the most extraordinary flowers, each adorned with tiny silver bells that tinkled with the slightest breeze. The garden stretched so far that even the royal gardener did not know its full extent. Beyond the garden lay a vast forest, home to towering trees that sloped down to the deep blue sea. Fishermen often sailed under the shadow of the tree's branches, and in one of these trees lived a nightingale with the most beautiful voice in the world. The nightingale's song was so enchanting that even the busiest fishermen would pause to listen, captivated by its melody. Travelers from distant lands who visited the emperor's city were awestruck by the palace and the garden, but they all agreed that the nightingale's song was the wonderful of all. The tale of the nightingale spread far and wide, and poets wrote verses in its honor. One day, the emperor, while reading a book sent to him by the mighty emperor of Japan, came across a passage praising the nightingale's song as the greatest wonder in his empire. Surprised and intrigued, he summoned his high-born lord-in-waiting to find the bird and bring it to court. The lord-in-waiting, who always responded with a dismissive "pooh" when addressed by those he considered beneath him, had never heard of the nightingale. However, he set out to find it, scouring the palace and questioning everyone he met. Despite his efforts, no one had heard of the nightingale. Finally, in the kitchen, he encountered a young girl who knew of the bird. She often sat by the seashore, listening to the nightingale as she rested on her way home from bringing scraps to her sick mother. The lord-in-waiting promised the girl a permanent position in the kitchen and permission to watch the emperor dine if she would lead them to the nightingale. The girl guided the lord-in-waiting and half the court through the forest. They mistook the sounds of cows lowing and frogs croaking for the nightingale, but the girl corrected them each time. Eventually, they heard the true nightingale's song and found the little gray bird perched on a branch. The lord-in-waiting, astonished by the bird's simplicity, invited it to sing for the emperor. That evening, the palace was adorned with thousands of lamps, and the golden perch was prepared for the nightingale in the grand hall. The nightingale sang so beautifully that tears filled the emperor's eyes. Touched by the bird's song, the emperor offered it his golden slipper, but the nightingale graciously declined, saying that the tears of an emperor were reward enough. The nightingale's song enchanted the entire court. The bird was given a golden cage and allowed to fly outside twice a day, each time attended by 12 servants who held her with silken strings. Despite the court's efforts, the nightingale's spirit could not be confined. One day, a large package arrived at the palace, containing a dazzling mechanical nightingale encrusted with diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. The artificial bird could sing and move its tail, and it was proclaimed superior to the real nightingale. The emperor, fascinated by the mechanical bird's predictable and flawless performance, commanded that it sing alone. However, the real nightingale flew away, returning to her beloved forest. The emperor and his court, enchanted by the artificial bird's glittering appearance, soon forgot the real nightingale. The mechanical bird was placed on a silk cushion by the emperor's bed and showered with precious gifts. Time passed, and the mechanical bird sang the same tunes repeatedly. One evening, as the emperor listened, a spring inside the bird broke, and it fell silent. Despite the efforts of the court's finest watchmakers, the bird could only sing once a year. The emperor's health began to decline, and the court prepared for his successor. The emperor lay ill and near death, abandoned by his courtiers who believed him already gone. As he struggled for breath, he heard the sweet, familiar song of the nightingale. The real nightingale had returned, having heard of the emperor's plight. Her song filled the room, driving away the shadows and bringing warmth to the emperor's heart. Death, who had been hovering near the emperor, was moved by the nightingale's song and agreed to leave in exchange for more melodies. The nightingale sang of hope, love, and the beauty of life, and with each note, the emperor grew stronger. Grateful for the nightingale's healing song, the emperor asked how he could repay her. The nightingale requested only that she be allowed to visit and sing whenever she pleased, and that her presence be kept a secret. The emperor agreed, and as the nightingale flew away, the emperor's servants returned to find their ruler alive and well. From that day on, the emperor cherished the nightingale's visits, finding solace and wisdom in her song, and ruling his kingdom with newfound compassion and understanding. If you like this story, please give this video a like. For more stories, go to bedtimedreamytales.com. See you in the next story.